What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lantern,
And this is Jed here, coach of the Adelaide Overheat.
and today we are bringing you the team draft recap for the Atlanta Staraptors in the NCL Season 2 or the Nimbasa City League. The Atlanta Staraptors are coached by our good friend Austin, or Monster, and heading into the draft, he had the first overall pick. Wow, big surprise, he had the first
Lucky
overall
guy.
pick. I know, right? He
I
had,
would have taken Zero Aura.
well, there you go. New toy fever, right? But
Yeah, exactly.
Austin, we knew Austin had a plan going into this draft. As soon as he knew that he had the first overall pick, he said to us, I think weeks ago actually, that excuse me, exactly what he was going to grab. I think we'll
Yeah,
just
definitely.
jump right into it because obviously there's no speculation around it. He grabbed it. He ended up grabbing Victini.
Uh, yeah, like, I mean, Victini's a good mon. I don't know if it's worth, like, first picking entirely, but, like, he wanted to use it, and this was definitely his only opportunity to get his hands in this draft. So, I mean, if he wanted it, he got it. And his first pick, he can take whatever he wants, so...
For sure. There were a few other pixies that went in the first round. I think Victini is probably I would say the most offensive of the Pixies that went in the first round, or maybe of all the Pixies actually in 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 all of it. It doesn't have the most coverage. Obviously, Mew has the most coverage, but it's very offensive. I know a few of the other things that maybe we would think would go first overall, things like your Tapu Kokos, your Celesteelas, your Kyurem Blacks. We know he's tried Tapu Koko before. We know he hates Kyurem Black, and I sniped Celesteela from him last season. I maybe a little bit surprised that he didn't take Celesteela because he's used Victini and NSTL now, but that sort of just goes to show how much he likes using them on, I guess.
I mean, I guess Celesteela is definitely a lot more boring than Victini is, in my opinion, when it comes to like playing with. Like, Victini probably does not have as many options as something like Celesteela does in the team building, but I feel like it's a lot more fun to play with in the actual game. So I'm not surprised that he took Victini over Celesteela, to be honest.
That's a good point actually. I know we've both used Celesteela. You used Victini briefly. I haven't used it yet, but I'm about to use it, so there's sort of a nice back and forth there. But I definitely am on the side of Celesteela being more worth it personally. I've used Celesteela a lot to an effective degree, I would hope. It was the kill leader on my team last season, so I felt like I used it
Yeah,
defensively and offensively enough.
yeah, see, I didn't use it very effectively when I had it really. I don't know. I had more effective things on my team, but um, and I mean, maybe it was just my team did build some wacky sets with Celesteela, and that might not have like it might have been better just to go the leech seed protect route. But I definitely like yeah didn't use it as well as you did, so I mean, I would definitely say that Celesteela would still be a better round one pick, but I'm not unhappy with the Victini that Monster decided to go with.
No, I don't think Austin's unhappy with it either. It's a good momentum option for him. Again, it's a really good mixed attacking option for him as well, and it starts his Firewater Grass core, and it starts his Psychic Dark Fighting core if you're into that stuff as well. So
Yeah, definitely another core that is quite a good one to draft around as well.
So fast forward 22 picks, or however many picks it was, and we'll get into his grass type now for his Firewater Grass core. Maybe a little bit early, but because it was his wheel, there was really no way that he was going to get it in round 4, so he is going to grab Tangrowth.
Yeah, definitely a good pickup to grab at this point because, yeah, it's his only chance to get it. We know how much he likes it, and it's just a really strong mon to build a core around for sure. Like, it can tank so many hits.
It can, and it hits back pretty hard actually. It's got some reasonable base stats for its attacking stats. It's a good mixed attacker at the same time, especially on an assault vest set. You see that quite often. Start to a potential regenerator core, maybe a sun team with the chlorophyll going on there.
Yeah, like it's definitely going to be interesting to see which way he goes. And like a Sun team could definitely be the direction, just like so that Victini's V-Create to get that boost as well. Could be an interesting way to go with this draft for sure.
So round three, it's not really an extra round because it was only one pick later, but he grabs a mega pick that he has been looking at for a really long time, and it's also two parts of his Dragon Fairy Steel Core. He ends up grabbing the Mega Altaria.
Yeah, once again, like Mega Altaria is not a fond of personally. I mean, I haven't ever used it in a draft league, so I'm not really uh, too sure on what it does. But like its speed is lacking. I tend to go for the faster megas if I can, um, and like its bulk isn't really enough for the lack of speed that it has compared to other megas. I like. Um, it is a great combination, and the pixelatability is really good. And like its bulk isn't terrible or anything like that, and it's a nice mixed attacker once again. So that's going to be something that has a lot of like options in the team building stage. But once again, it's just not something that I am a fan of myself. But I can see it working on this team for sure.
I like that you pointed out that it's another mixed attacker. That's sort of the theme of the first three picks of this draft is all three of them can really be run in either direction if you're thinking offensively. Worthy to note, again, well, not again, but he covered up a ground weakness, picking Tangrowth for the Victini, and potentially with Altaria, because you don't have to Mega on the first turn, so Altaria in regular form is a flying type, but at this point, he does not have a poison switch in yet. Um, it looks like a Sludge Bomb is going to destroy this team at the moment with the Tangrowth and the Altaria, but maybe he'll patch that up in round 4?
Maybe.
Or
You never
round
know, huh?
or round 5 maybe? Who knows? Speaking of round 4, he's going to go all the way back, another 22 something picks, and he is going to grab himself Gliscor, which is another mon that he was definitely looking at to start off the draft.
Yeah, he told us months in advance that he wanted these next two picks that he's going for. Well, maybe not months, but weeks at least. And that like he really didn't want us to help it. So we kind of worked around him in the like forming a team stage so that he could get these two picks. And I do like the next two picks that he took for sure. They're some of my favorite mid-tier mons. Gliscor, I I really like just that poison heal toxic orb set is just so hard for so many things to deal with. Like obviously it's going to take those ice moves not very well because of that 4x weakness. But I do believe it does resist those poison type moves that are going to be coming in for that Mega Altar
Yep,
Tangrowth.
I think it does.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure ground type resists them. So that's definitely a nice addition to his team. And it gives him a defog and stealth rocking option, which is a great thing to have on one Pokemon.
Yeah, I agree. We didn't touch on it, but Mega Altaria also gets Defog, Gliscor gets Defog. It is his first hazard setter, and it's another U-turner with Victini, which is kind of cool. It's kind of working pretty well with Tangrowth and his next pick, which we'll get to in a second. They form a really solid defensive core together, I think. There's not much that can break the three of them together. Uh,
Yeah, for sure, exactly. Uh,
maybe a good rock type or something.
even then, like, Gliscor is going to hit a rock type back decently with an earthquake or something like that. So um, it's really, yeah, it's a well-balanced core. And like the only thing that's going to be able to break this at the moment would be like a heavy-hitting ice type like Kyurem or something like that, like something from my team. Um,
Yep.
yeah, at this point, that's an ice type is looking like the best bet.
Well, to counteract those ice types, he ends up picking on the wheel. He picks Empoleon.
Yes, another neat pick. Like this is the second pick that I was talking about. And yeah, definitely a good balance for the Gliscor there. And yeah, helping with that ice type weakness that he was building up there. But yeah, still water type. I think that's a four times resistance to ice,
Yep.
which is like yeah, really good there for him. And it's also another defogger and a stealth rocker, and arguably one of the best defoggers in the draft league format.
I don't know if it's
In the
arguable. I think it just is. Isn't
well,
everything
yeah,
Wimby says just
yeah. I
true?
mean, I meant arguably, as in there's going to be people that argue about it,
That's
and
true.
they're obviously wrong.
True. Very true.
And
Yeah.
just the fact that it gets defined as well is really good. Draft league meta where there's so many defoggers going around, it
Oh,
makes your
yes.
opponents think twice about clicking it.
What's funny about these past two picks is in season one, they were both tiered one tier higher than they are this season because of defog and getting hidden abilities with defog. So you can blame that on me. You can maybe
Yes.
blame Austin getting both of these picks for really good value on me as well. Um, Something to touch on at this point is he's actually got a really good balance of speed tiers at this point. Tangrowth being at the bottom, then Empoleon right above that, Mega Altaria above that, Gliscor above that, and Victini above that. The only thing he's kind of missing is, above the base 100 spectrum, but he's got a nice mixture of speed tiers going on right now.
Yeah, it's pretty well balanced, that's for sure. Definitely got a bit more balance in the tiers than my own team.
So this next round, I know he got sniped pretty hard. I think he was looking at this Pokemon, at a certain Pokemon as a spin blocker and things like that, but we're not going to get into the Pokemon that he got sniped on. But we'll talk about the next Pokemon that he got, which was Cryogonal, sort of to pick up on the ground-ish weakness that he had going on, and maybe another ice resist as well.
Yeah, Cryogonal is an awesome pick. I love Cryogonal. Um, as an ice-type spinner defogger, gets both. And then it can be fairly bulky as well, at least on the specially defensive side. So it can make a good wall to like cover those ice-type hits that are going to want to hit the Gliscor and stuff like that. And like it has recovery, it has some nice priority in Ice Shard. It's got Freeze Dry, which is good to hit those water types that want to come in and block a Ice type move normally. And it's just really fast. And yeah, as you said, it dodges the ground types as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the utility this brings to his team. His team is actually screaming utility with the last few picks here, but Cryogonal is up there in terms of just pure value, I think, out of a tier 4 pick for him.
Yeah, for sure. Cryogonal is a great tier 4 pick.
Yeah. So the next half of this wheel, he grabbed his fast electric type in Raikou.
Um, Once again, it's another mon I don't really personally like, but it's a fast electric type, which can be quite valuable. I'm assuming it gets Volt Switch, as most of these fast electric types do, so that's
Yep.
going to help with Tangrowth and his other U-turners. Um, its abilities, like, leave a little bit to be desired. The pressure ability can be used to stop something trying to, like, stall him out too much or something like that. But it's got decent special attack. It's got decent defenses with that HP stat as well. So it can take a hit and then hit back decently hard.
Yeah, it's a pretty well-rounded Mon. I know there's, most coaches are going to run it shiny for the mind games to figure out if it's got Aura Sphere or not, because it can't really hit Steel types super well without running Aura Sphere necessarily. I know it's very reliant on HP Ice as well, but again, your point about Volt Switch is very valid. I like that this can Volt Switch, especially along with things like Victini. Having fast offensive mons that can Volt Switch or U-turn into your defensive pivots, like Tangrowth specifically, as well as Empoleon and Gliscor, I think that's a really solid way to build a team, and I think it's sort of going in a really nice direction so far.
Yeah, like just having Volt turn capabilities is really advantageous for a team because like it lets you either turn into like do a slow turn into something offensive, so you don't need to let that offensive mon take a hit, or as you said, it lets these offensive mons get out of there into a defensive mon so once again, they don't have to take the hit.
Especially for something like Raikou that's got such a glaring ground weakness, being able to just Volt Switch into Tangrowth and soak that ground hit for free just seems like such a good strategy overall,
Yeah, for sure.
pairing the two of them together. So on the next wheel, Austin managed to grab a very scary mon that I'm not sure he was necessarily considering right off the bat, but ends up being one of the latest Tier 1 picks in Keldeo.
Um, Keldeo is a pretty neat one as well, and it's got that speed stat that kind of slots in there just above the Cryogonal and just below the Raikou. Um, it's once again like one of those mons that I would never personally, um, but it can definitely do really well with like a scarf. Even a spec set can be uh, an, a real threat. Um, it's got that justified to whether like the knockoff spam that is actually quite common as well these days in Draft League, to get that attack bonus there. It's it's something that you definitely need to be wary of in prep, and like having mons like that is all good.
Yeah, what I like a lot about Keldeo on this team as well, he doesn't have the best Z-move users up to this point, but Keldeo is a fantastic Z-move user. I've seen a lot of Calm Mind Z-move Keldeos recently, and it seems to kind of be a trend. I've also seen SD like Z bounce sets to be able to take out Mega Venusaurs, so it's got a lot of versatility there as well.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see it being a good ZU. It does have a few coverage moves that be good if he wants to chuck a Z move on there. But like even if you want to go for the like choice item, it's not a bad option there either. And
Exactly.
it does like the attack is a little bit to be desired compared to like the special attack. But like yeah, once you get an SD up, getting a Z fly move, like a flying Z move, whatever, off on something that would normally wall this, can also be quite valuable. So I see the value there for sure.
So to make things a little bit trickier on teams in prep and especially in team preview, on the other half of this wheel, Austin managed to grab another Dark Resist for his team and a Ghost Resist as well to cover for the Victini as well in Zoroark.
Yes, also that psychic immunity to cover that Keldeo that he just picked up as well
True.
um, is like it's a good pick. I like Zoroark. It's definitely full. And as you're saying, this can also be a decent Z user. It does have some neat tricks that it can pull off with some Z moves. Once again, it's got like a pretty decent speed tiering as well. And the special attack and the attack aren't too far off. So I can see it viably being used as like a mixed attacker or like in prep, just using it as something to mess with your opponent and so they won't know what you're going to bring. Yeah, a bit of like being able to switch it up is always good.
It's also another U-turner, so it adds to sort of his list of momentum grabbers there, and it sort of works out well for him overall. I think it's a really solid pick, and I'm excited to see what he can do with it. Coming around to the next wheel, we've got his Ghost type and his Poison type. Not really a hazard setting Poison type, but again, as we get further into the later rounds, these Mons fill sort of a niche role. This Mon is a very good Scarfer in my opinion, and he ended up grabbing Haunter.
Yeah, Haunter is a very, very good scarfer. Like, it's for being a not full on, its special attack is actually still pretty decent. Its speed is still pretty decent. Um, it's not a grounded poison type, so his team is still weak to top spikes, unfortunately, because it does have that levitate there. But it shouldn't be too big of a problem, I don't think. He does have the hazard removing options that he would need to be able to keep them off, I feel. But yeah, like obviously this isn't one of those NFE monsters in the day. This is definitely a more offensive one. I'm not really sure about what it does, but like I mean, it's just young Gengar, so it's still going to have lots of coverage moves, and like it's still going to be able to chuck out some good damage.
Yeah, so far, no real glaring weaknesses on this team that I think we're seeing. Lots of solid attackers, or maybe lacking a little bit on the bulk at this sort of stage of the draft, but he does have a solid defensive core going on right now as well. So we'll head into his last pick that I know was partially my fault for him picking, and we'll talk about that maybe in a second. But it adds some more variety to his hazard game, picking up a spike setter in Frogadier. I know I thought that it got toxic spikes, and I sort of advised him to take it based on it getting spikes and toxic spikes. Worthy to note, we do not allow Protean on Greninja, but Protean is allowed on Frogadier.
Yeah, I was going to say like Protean is going to make it valuable. It doesn't get where it did.
Yeah, I did too, but it doesn't, unfortunately.
Wow, crazy.
Or sorry, no,
Yeah, well,
maybe I might. Sorry, it might actually get toxic spikes, but not regular spikes. I think that's what it is. Correcting myself on that.
okay. So like, there's one of them that Greninja gets. Um, Frogadier doesn't.
Yeah, Greninja, I believe, gets spikes through level up or something, but it's level up once it's evolved. Like it's level up at level 28 or something. So Greninja's already evolved, and you have to like move relearn it to get spikes. I think when I was looking it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Um, all right. Well, I mean, I don't feel that that's too detrimental because, like, spikes, while they have their uses, they're not the most useful hazard in the draft league format for sure. Um, I mean, it can be nice against a team that doesn't have much hazard removal options, but I feel like most of Monster's hazard removal options here are default itself. So, like, I don't feel like missing out on those spikes is a big deal. Um, and then, like, Frogadier still gets all the coverage options that Greninja gets otherwise, I think. So it's definitely still going to be something to worry about with that Protean as well.
Yeah, I think the only thing it won't get is like mat block maybe, which is, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
So now we'll sort of go over the strengths and weaknesses, and I'll sort of touch on this a little bit more than Jed will. But um, in terms of his strengths, he's got quite a few good resists. As you see on the screen there, he has 5 water resists, 5 bug, 5 ice, and 5 steel resists, which I think is pretty insane. He's got a long list of resists, 58 in total with 7 immunities. Only one 4 times resist to poison, actually, which isn't even on this list. But what's his 4 times resist to poison? What is it? Probably Haunter? Haunter. Haunter is his 4 times resist to poison, so it doesn't really matter because Haunter can't tank hits well. But he does have, again, he's got a lot of resists, which is really good for his team. On the other side, he doesn't have a ton of weaknesses. One major one to point out is ground. He has 4 ground weaknesses and only 2 resists, so ground seems like kind of a big hole here. He does have Gliscor and Cryogonal, but on top of that, he's got some ground weaknesses going on here. And 3 3 ice weaknesses. He has a few other types that are 3 times, but ice in particular is a little bit more detrimental because of that 4 times weakness coming out of Gliscor.
Yeah, whoever picked up Mammoth one is going to...
I don't think
Um,
I don't think Bambasine was drafted.
wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Spoiler alert,
Um,
unfortunately. Spoiler alert for the rest of
that's...
these recap videos, but I don't think Bambasine was drafted.
I'm pretty surprised that it didn't get drafted, to be honest. But yeah, whatever. Well, that's something that Austin does not have to worry about. But, I mean, there's still going to be a ton of that he's going to have to worry about that. Like, ground coverage is quite common on a lot of mobs. So having to worry about that is going to be a problem, something he's going to have to think about. And then ice, like there's so many decent ice types that it's definitely something he's going to have to watch out for. And it's so easy to just put hidden power ice on a bunch of special attackers and like hit things like the Gliscor and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
something to
and
watch out for
it's
for
not
sure.
just hitting the Gliscor as well, right? It's hitting Tangrowth, it's hitting Mega Altaria, it's hitting Raikou for decent damage as well. So there's a lot of things there, especially with Frogadier using Protean. Maybe it's not, and maybe it's turning into a move that doesn't resist Ice either, so you can click HP Ice on that. So there's some things to play around with there. But next up here is going to be his hazard game. He has three setting options, which is not the most. He has Gliscor to set up Stealth Rocks, Empoleon for Stealth Rocks, and Frogadier for Toxic Spikes, as we were talking about earlier. But he does have quite a few removal options. He has the Mega Altaria with Defog, Gliscor with Defog, Empoleon with Defog, and Cryogonal getting both Defog and Rapid Spin. The Rapid Spin probably a little bit more clutch now that he has Toxic Spikes on his team. He doesn't want to necessarily defog those away, but I don't think it's as important when he doesn't have a huge focus on getting hazards up for himself.
Yeah, exactly. Like his removal options are actually said in Polygon, probably the best defogger in draft format. Um, Cryogonal having the rapid spin and the defog is really good at, and Gliscor is a really solid defogger too. So even if Mega Altaria never brings it, which is quite possible, he's got really good hazard removal options, which of he can bring one or two of them to every match guaranteed.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree. That's a fairly safe bet to keep hazards off the field for Victini, for Mega Altaria before it Mega Evolves, things like that. Um, that's actually pretty much the only thing. He doesn't have a super rock weakness going on there. So let's look at a summary slide of his team now, and we'll sort of go over the highlights. For me, his Fire, Water, Grass seems pretty good. He's got the Victini, Tangrowth, and Polion. You can throw Frogadier in there as well, but it doesn't really fit the core very well. And his Fairy Dragon Steel Core only consists of 2 Mons. Maybe that's a little bit lacking, maybe, because it's only 2 Mons? What do you think?
Um, I mean, I don't think it's too terrible. Like, I guess, in my opinion, Altaria is the best dragon. It's not the best fairy. So it's a bit underwhelming in both of those directions. So I would prefer to get my dragons and fairies separately, but it can definitely work out. Like, it's got Dragon Dance and it's got Cotton Guard, so you can go offensively or defensively with it, and it can still put in work. So,
Yeah, this
um,
is it's looking like a very well-balanced team to me, in my opinion. I think that's kind of the biggest strength of it. It's not necessarily the most scary on paper, but maybe in the building process, it's a lot harder to build against because of sort of his defensive pivots and all of his pivoting options on the team.
yeah, and as I touched on earlier, like, he's going to have that stealth, the toxic spikes, like not being able to absorb them with his poison type. But like when looking at his team, like Altaria is going to dodge it when it comes in the first time because it's not going to be megaed yet.
Hmm.
Um, his Haunter isn't going to worry about it because it's levitate. And then all of his removal options uh, don't get hit by the toxic spikes anyway, so he can bring them in safely to defog them, no worries.
For sure. Yeah, so that was kind of all the points that I had. I don't know if you have any other points about the team.
Um, I guess just like he's also got those Volt turn options that you said, and with the Tangrowth, that's a good combination to have overall. So
I agree.
definitely, yeah, a very balanced looking team for sure.
Yeah, maybe he could use another regenerator mon, pick one up in free agency or something like that to complete a regenerator core with the Tangrowth. Maybe not. Maybe it won't matter. But that's sort of it from us here. Austin's channel will be linked down in the description below, as well as myself and Jed's. Um, Feel free to check us out, do whatever. Stay tuned for more NCL content throughout the season. We will be putting up more of these draft recap videos for sure, as well as we've got some other stuff planned for during the season, and we hope you guys have a great day.
Yeah, catch you later. Thanks for watching.